Books were a big part of most of our childhoods, whether we read them by ourselves during the day or our parents read them to us at night. However, if you knew the backstories of how some of these children's books came to be, you probably would feel pretty uncomfortable reading them. Now, since I am an expert at making your childhoods look like living hells, here are some examples of children's books that originated from something darker than you could have imagined. Number 1. Charlotte's Web. Charlotte's Web is a popular children's tale about a baby pig who doesn't want to be chopped up into pork, so a fellow barn spider helps him. Little do the kids who read this story know about the author's rather disturbing interests. The story was brought about by author E.B. White's rather creepy obsession with spiders. As a kid, he was not afraid of spiders, but rather observed them as they gave birth to little babies. At one point in his adult life, he even let a horde of baby spiders loose in his house to live happily, which even caused his maid to quit her job. And to take the creepiness factor up a notch even more, he even wrote a love poem for his wife one time, pretending to be a spider. Yeah, he wrote a good book, but maybe you shouldn't get too close to the man who wrote it. He just might have a little 8-legged gift for you. Number 2. Where the Wild Things Are. Everyone should remember this great story of a boy who is upset over a punishment he received for being a brat, and runs away to the woods where he meets a bunch of scary monsters and becomes their king. But it was actually revealed by the author, Maurice Sendak, that it wouldn't have come about if it weren't for his rather dark past. As a child, his family was in the midst of the invasion of Poland, and his mother was exiled there due to having affairs with multiple men. Also, many of his father's relatives lost their lives in the invasion. He describes his parents as going completely insane over these incidents, and I suppose that is what caused the main character of his now popular story to act so savagely. Makes you wonder what the kid in the story's family was going through before the whole Wild thing. Number 3. Roald Dahl's books. Roald Dahl has written many kids' stories such as James and the Giant Peach and, one of my personal favorites, Fantastic Mr. Fox. But dark events in Dahl's life not only brought about the creation of one book, but a good majority of his books. He lost both his parents as a child, a lot like James in the book James and the Giant Peach, as well as the child from the witches, and he went to a boarding school that had harsh punishments, like in his book Matilda. There are other books that he's written that reflect his depressing life that revolves around his skull injuries as well as his tragic home life over his years of writing. Kind of makes you feel a little uncomfortable when reading those stories now, doesn't it? Number 4. The Harry Potter series. Sure, the series is pretty dark on its own, especially later in the series, but some of the elements that went into the series were because of some dark and rather depressing events that took place in the author's life. Before the creation of Harry Potter, author J.K. Rowling's mother had been suffering MS for many years before she finally died, which devastated Rowling. Because of this, when starting the Harry Potter series, it is believed that she killed off Harry's parents before the series even began because of the loss of her mother. Also, it's believed that the reason why Harry's father is usually portrayed as a jerk in his youth is because Rowling had a difficult relationship with her father, which only worsened after her mother's passing. Further into the series, Rowling went through a bad divorce and lost her job, which caused her to suffer serious depression, and thus it brought about a dark entity that made its way into her best-selling books, the Dementors. Soul-sucking spirits whose presence causes you to relive every dark and tragic memory in your past. Rowling's grief over her deceased mother is also why it is believed that she killed off a good portion of her characters in the series. The good news is that Rowling had gotten through her depression, and is now a happy and wealthy author with a great talent for writing. And finally, number 5 is Peter Pan. This one has to be the most disturbing of all. Peter Pan was inspired by author J.M. Barrie's brother who died when he was just a kid. Apparently, Barrie had a total of 9 siblings when he was growing up, but his brother David was the one brother he was the closest to. David was his mother's favorite of the 9 children, so it was pretty devastating for her when David tragically met his end in an ice skating accident. Since the author of Neverland's hero wanted to cheer his mother up, he started to impersonate his dead brother, And I don't mean just acted like him on occasion, but he pretty much became his older brother. He started wearing David's old clothes and took up his habits such as whistling. As this went on, his mother, rather than being traumatized by this, thought of it as David's youthful spirit being with her always, even in death. Sound familiar? Like they say, there is a Peter Pan in all of us. Maybe your lost relatives or best friends are waiting in Neverland for you. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching this countdown. If you like what you see and you want to see more, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe for more countdowns like this and other content on my channel. And remember to stay your awesome selves always. See you next time.